Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and www.spicefm.co.ke. Let's begin there with today's Proverb, CT.
The opportunity given to a monkey to wear clothes does not guarantee it joining the dining table.
The opportunity given to a monkey to wear clothes does not in any way guarantee
It joining the dining table.
Okay. Ni sawa. Very many ways of talking of. So let's now bring in the conversation about the Nairobi Metropolitan Services back on the table. And we were discussing it in the 7 o'clock hour. The NMS, much of the work that it's done, much of the questions and comments that are coming in from social media and on calls, especially with regards to provision of basic services like water and sanitation, provision of healthcare. So we know that the NMS currently has been working on coming up with new health facilities in Nairobi. A number of them are reportedly going to be launched this week, and then others are going to be launched in coming days. Water. NMS came in. You say you have been told by people on the ground who have witnessed the drilling of boreholes,
The benefits
and
of it.
provision of water now, and they have better access to water. Others are still complaining about water cartels that are just running affairs in the city of Nairobi. But let's bring in the boss, Major General Mohammed Badi Abdalla. He's the Director General of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. Thank you very much for joining us, Jemedari, and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation.
It's unfortunate that we were not able to talk to you earlier, but we have you now, and we are glad.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's just begin with the work that you've done so far. Since you took over as the Director General of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, the work that you've done, if you can just give us a brief for people who have not felt NMS maybe, what have you been doing for the last couple of months?
Well, since we started, that is around mid-March last year, we were given the four functions that were transferred to us as NMS, and that is transport, services and public works, environment, energy, water and sanitation, lands and physical planning, housing and urban development, and lastly, health. So in all these functions, in terms of transport services, since we took over, we started off first by repairing all the roads within CBD, and they were in dire state in some areas. Some areas they were okay, but we still recapited to ensure that the proper work is done, including the drainages in all the major roads, and creation of NMT, non-motorable transport. That is the walkways and cycle paths around CBD, and we are now going to continue out of CBD into different estates. So as far as roads are concerned, we have been able to repair all the major roads within CBD, have recapited them, and we are even going into inner lanes now to complete CBD, and we should be moving out of CBD end of this month towards other areas. But that doesn't mean that the affected areas like industrial areas and upmarket of Nairobi, we have been continuing because some of the roads in those areas, for example, Lavington and other areas, Westlands have been in dire state. So we have come to first aid of these roads and be able to repair them up to acceptable standards. In terms of NMTs, I think anybody walking within CBD will be able to notice the non-motorized transport corridors that we have created. We are now moving, like, for example, Kenyatta Avenue, we have moved out of CBD and have reached the Hurlingham roundabout. We are continuing on Jogo Road and some other areas. We are now starting to go westland in terms of NMC. So those are transport services. Apart from that, you know our motto to decongest the city. We are now building Matatu or PSV terminals around the city. We have started at Green Park, which is almost complete and should be officially opened in February. It will cater for the Gong Road and some of the Mombasa Road PSV. But we are creating another bus terminal on Workshop Road, joining Bunyala Road, that will mainly cater for Mombasa Road traffic. We have another one at Landis Road, Park Road, Desai Park. We'll have one at Mudhurwa and another one at Westland. Hopefully, all these bus terminals will be where PSVs will end their journeys and go back from where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
To connect these bus terminals to CBD center, we have BRT lanes where the buses will be ferrying people from those bus terminals to CBD. And if it's nearby, then there are walkways which a person can walk from the bus terminals into CBD. So those are developments we are doing in terms of roads. In conjunction with the road, we are repairing all the street lights. We have been able to repair almost 50,000 street lights, some replacing them and some repairing. So we do hope that with the modern street lights, we'll be able to light up Nairobi city as it should be. We are changing into the smart light system, where some of the street lights will be coupled with cameras in terms of protection and security. And in some areas like public spaces in parks like Uhuru Park, Michuki Park, the same street lights will also have Wi-Fi where people can connect and enjoy when they are in the green spaces. So these are part of the transport services and electricity that are ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of public works, we are in the process of renovating and repair 8 markets where we'll put them into the proper standards with abolition, parking spaces, and modern stalls. So the works have already started. There is one that was done by national government, but we are working with them, and that is City Park Market, which had stalled, and it is soon going to be opened. In terms of environment, we started from day one into garbage collection, but this is an area that involves heavy transport. Unfortunately, when we took over, most of the county transport in terms of environment, the lorries were dead. They were hiring private collectors to do it, and it was quite expensive. So when we started, we had a memorandum of understanding with NYS, who quickly came into our aid by providing their lorries and their staff to supervise collection of garbage. So we did quite a lot. We managed to cover some of the garbages in some areas that they were not collected for over 7 months. We managed to bridge that gap. Recently, we have advertised for some areas within CBD for private companies to aid NMS in collection of the garbage. We are already issuing out tenders. We will reach out to the 17 sub-counties within Nairobi County to ensure that garbage is collected effectively. We managed to recover some of the lorries for environment and other uses by rehabilitating the county workshop, where effectively we were able to repair 83 vehicles, including ambulances, fire vehicles, and garbage collection vehicles within a period of 2 months, and they are now all serviceable and working around the city. So we are still continuing with garbage collection. The task is huge. Nairobi produces over 3 tons of garbage daily. We are working round the clock to ensure that we effectively keep the city clean. And we have done a lot in that end, but still we have to hire private garbage trucks in order to be completely efficient.
General, if you don't mind, let us just be discussing them as you go ahead and tell us the work that you've done sector per sector. Now, in the area of environment, and you said a lot of work that you're already doing, and you came in and you found a situation where county trucks were in a deplorable condition. NYS came in. Now you've issued some tenders for PPPs within the CBD. Are you keen on the specifications of the garbage trucks? Because one of the complaints that you'll hear people having is that, yes, the county has signed up contracts with private companies to do garbage collection, but then those private companies bring in the oldest of trucks onto the road and they just collect garbage, not specific garbage collection trucks. Do you have those specifications this time?
Yes, specifically during this tender, we had evaluation team going around to to evaluate some of these companies. Most of them have tippers and hire local staff for collection of garbage, not specifically garbage trucks. We ourselves, as a county, are the ones that are specifically going for garbage trucks. We have repaired the ones at the county workshop, and we are ordering a few more specifically for garbage collection. In fact, these are the new modern ones that compact the garbage by pressing it so that it becomes solid at a go once compressed. So they'll be able to carry more and be more effective. In terms of private, most of the companies that are available around do not have specific garbage trucks, but use tippers and other lorries. So long as the garbage is collected and ferried to Dandora dumping site, it is okay for us for the moment, because the reach of having companies specifically for environment, I think is difficult. And the ones that are around are usually hired within the estate that we have for their private collective. So yes, the trucks that have been hired are not specifically for environmental uses, they compromise by using tippers and other lorries, but we have to use them at the moment because of the amount of garbage that is generated daily. If we keep on looking for the companies that have specifically compact environmental trucks, then it will be difficult to find.
Are there, General, I have to ask you, some of the problems that we've seen or some of the things that have been said, is that there's control of some of these processes. The word cartels have come up over and over again as the reasons why perhaps smooth operations have not been able to happen. Are you experiencing these challenges? Are there other bodies that are involved in these processes that then stop a flow smooth of operations? Or is it just the numbers, huge numbers that you're talking about that may not allow things work so smoothly?
Yes, I cannot rule out the cartels because the system which was employed before, the checks and balances in terms of ensuring that all garbage is collected was being neglected. Second, the way cartels operate is they would collect garbage in a certain area, go to Dandora site, then claim the amount of garbage in terms of weight more than the amount they have carried. So they used to cheat and had various ways of cheating by placing stones on the lorry, then filling it with garbage, so that when it goes to the weight machine, it appears as if those specific lorries had extra in terms of tonnage than the amount that they actually carry. So this would mean that they get paid more.
Yeah.
So that's how cartels operated. Not really that they were not collecting garbage, but they used to claim more than what they really collected.
And do we have would you say that you have a handle on this now? Do you know who used to operate like this? Do you know who they are? And are you able to say, look, let's cut this thing off at the source and get to the point whereby we're delivering services within Nairobi in the way in which it's supposed to be? Do you have a handle on these fellows now?
We do. First, we ensured that all the existing contracts were cancelled. And then we went to advertise, inspected the various companies, and now have set up measures where a car going in to dump in Dandora is weighed, and when going out, it's also weighed and inspected. So we have security officers placed in Dandora site that manage the weight system and the inspection of those garbage lorries. That way to ensure transparency in the amount of garbage that is dumped. So we have just started the new contracts with various farms, and we are yet to experience any hurdles.
Well, talking of transportation, General,
Yes.
I was recently informed by someone I know who lives in the Ngumo and the larger Golf Course area about a proliferation of car washes and other structures which may not necessarily meet the stipulations of what we consider to be legal. And they say they're all over the place, including near primary schools. Now, this is not probably the only area that have had such issues, but what is the NMS doing about illegal structures and structures that perhaps have met the complaints of the residents of the areas within the county?
Remember that in terms of trade, that's not a transfer function to us. It's still with the county. They issue license to various operators like car washers, kiosks, and etc. Now, ours is to ensure that our enforcement that we have taken over strictly goes by the rule. Yes, the car washes are too many, not only in Gumo, but even in posh areas like Bodaiga and Lavington and Karen and some other areas, which they should not be. Remember that these car washes were actually licensed by various MCAs who represent their wards. So this is political. Those are probably their boys who voted them in, and in order to please them, they give them licenses to do such things. So we are fighting two folds. One is to ensure that the rule of law is applied to everywhere. But in order to enforce, remember that we also have a challenge, because these people are licensed by politicians. They control the county assembly. They set bylaws which allow some of these operations to operate illegally, knowingly that they are doing wrong. So it's a major challenge, but we are trying to get rid one in one estate and another. Hopefully, we'll be able, once we have an agreement with the county assembly, to get rid of all of them. But it's not an easy task. Remember that they have been set, not all of them, but majority of them, by the same politicians, and you expect them to vote in the assembly to say no. That I leave it to you to imagine.
That actually brings us now to the wider conversation about dealing with cartels. When we were having this conversation earlier, we were looking at, so General has come in, you do not have the baggage of the politics, you do not have the baggage of having operated in Nairobi as an administrator before. You're coming in, look at things how they should be, and ensuring that they run as they should. However, the reality will be that you will find systems that have been tweaked and corrupted to work in specific ways, and that's where now cartels come in. Just give us your experience of dealing with cartels and how the kind of pushback you get and the kind of order and command as a general that you have issued.
Remember, cartels are just human beings like me and you.
Yep.
But they operate under some sort of influence, either political influence or financial influence. They usually bribe their way through to get specific tenders to do showbiz jobs. One way of ensuring that the cartels, you get rid of them, is by having solid institutions in place and ensuring that the laws set by these institutions are abided. For example, the water cartel, which is a menace around the city.
Yep.
We, with Ministry of Water, recently registered all water bowsers and exhausters. It's funny that even the exhausters, nobody knew the number that were around the city until and when we went public and demanded that all of them get registered. Otherwise, they will lose their license to operate either exhausters or water bowsers. We had a number of them registered. We now know who operates from where. Within that registration, it was a must for you to indicate the place where you draw your water and the areas which you supply. That way, we'll be able to know where they collect their water. Before, they used to take the same city water free of charge and then sell it to common management. But now with the registration, we know, because they have to indicate their source of water. And if it's within the Nairobi water, then they are charged daily for the amount that they collect. The Ministry of Water is now developing an app where you will be able to order for this water bowser, just like Uber. Once you set that you need within your specific area, it will show you the amount of water bowsers that are around that area, where they collected the collection point in order to ensure safety of that water, and the amount they have paid for that volume which they have filled the water bowser.
That's interesting.
And it will also indicate to you the amount that they should sell to you. So there will not be this conning that you have seen going around. You will be ensured of the source of water, and you can query through Ministry of Water whether that water is safe.
Okay.
So that's one way of ensuring that we bring back sense into that area. It's not been easy, but we are getting there.
Getting there. Can I ask, though, then for many people, the question is, if there is water that then can be gotten by these water bowsers, then this water can also be supplied to homes, because it is these families and individuals, not just businesses, who would essentially be applying for this water. So if that water is available, what's the problem in having this water supplied to residents of Nairobi? There are some taps that are still dry.
No, there is no problem, and that's why we want them registered, so that rather than operating haphazardly, there'll be a unique and standard way of ordering this water should you need it in a home.
Okay, so in terms of getting water running in the taps of homes, and I must say that, yes, for the first time in very many years, we saw water coming out of the taps in some areas like South B, South C. This happened. So we know that it's possible to happen. How much further or how much more can it be, so that areas that had perennial water issues, went through the whole rationing and things like that, and even other upcoming areas within the NMS will have water in their taps and don't have to go through this back-breaking exercise of ordering water to then be pumped in? Is it possible to be done?
Yes, it's very much possible. Remember that since the early 70s, the water infrastructure in terms of pipes, their repair, the water flow into the city was established then in 70s, upgraded early 80s, and since then nothing has been done about it. The population of Nairobi has been increasing since then. Up to now, we are reaching almost 5 million. Mm-hmm. There is an acute shortage to what these water pipes can carry and what Nairobi requires. Mm-hmm. Currently, all the pipes connected to Nairobi can only supply 525,000 cubic meters in terms of water daily. Nairobi needs over 800,000 cubic meters per day to satisfy every home. So there's already a shortage of almost 300,000 cubic meters per day. And that's why you see the water rationing in order to ensure that all the areas get water. Remember, the main focus first is CBD gets water almost every day without any interruption. Areas of hostels and other needy places must also get water throughout. So the amount that is left to distribute into every area, that's why you see some areas getting water once per week, other areas getting twice. So we need to improve the current infrastructure in order to cater for what Nairobi needs now and what will be required by Nairobi 5 or 10 years to come. But that's not an easy exercise. We have to replace all the pipes. Some of these pipes are very old and even leaky. So we are doing damage repair now by repairing all the current pipes, but with the help of World Bank, who have accepted to redo our water infrastructure, we hope we'll be able to cater for what shortages we are currently experiencing. But Ministry of Water and Athi Water, they are already putting up a new corridor we call the Northern Sector Water Corridor, which will increase the water supply by almost 150 to 180,000 cubic meters per day. And if the pipes from the current Kinduruma are expanded to cater for a bigger water volume, we'll be able to reduce this gap and the water rationing will end.
The conversation
But
around
that will take almost a year or more to repair all those pipes.
this conversation around water, as you may understand, General, of course, it's a conversation that needs to take place over and over again. We are having a conversation with Major General Mohammed Badi. He is the Director General of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, telling us the work that the NMS has done since taking over some of the functions of the Nairobi City County government. A lot of it has happened in terms of transport infrastructure side, in terms of provision of services like garbage collection. We're talking about water as we were going into the break. And the General was telling us about the work that's being done by the NMS, by the Ministry of Water. Now there's support from the World Bank on increasing the capacity of supply of water to Nairobi City County. As we have these conversations, General, we are still seeing many questions that are coming in on social media. People raising concerns about, for example, yes, the old dilapidated pipes and then mixing of drinking water with sewer. Mixing of drinking water, basically the pipes leaking and seeping water and contaminants into the water system. Now, when you talk about having the water bowsers that have been registered, yes, by the NMS, can the NMS talk about the cleanliness, the portability of this water? Say, water has been delivered to you by a bowser. It is safe for drinking, or must you then start thinking about treating it?
Yes, that's the main reason why we have registered these water bowsers, because officially they are supposed to collect water from specific water points. By registering them and ensuring in their registration they indicate their source of water, then it is not only an insurance to ensure that this water is clean, but also that they pay for the services that they get from this water point. So yes, the water bowsers that are registered by us and Ministry of Water, their sources are safe. Those are inspected by water inspectors from Nairobi Water Services and Ministry of Water to ensure that whatever is sold to wananchi is clean water.
Tell us about the boreholes that you've sunk in other parts of Nairobi. This had also been done by the Ministry of Water.
Yes. Remember that when NMS was created, COVID had just started. So one of the functions was to ensure that people clean their hands or wash their hands frequently. Now, most of the slums and informal settlement and disadvantaged areas, say areas around Eastlands and so forth, never had any water. These people in informal settlement and disadvantaged areas actually bought water more expensive than what you and I get from Nairobi water through our taps. You will find a water jerrycan costing between 5 shillings and 20 shillings depending on an area, for a 20-liter jerrycan. While if you filled it from your tap, a water jerrycan of 20 liters through Nairobi water would cost you less than 2 shillings. So the people living in disadvantaged areas and informal settlements usually are low salary earners, yet paid a lot for water. So the first thing was to address this gap. So when NMS was formed, we actually borrowed 10 water bodas to ensure that water is distributed free, safe and free water to all informal settlements. Because of the need then, and even now, because of COVID, the water demand was a lot. So we have increased our capacity. We have now bought our own water bowsers. There are 22 of them that distribute water daily to informal settlement. But this was the initial measure to address then the requirement of COVID. But we are still continuing up to today. But in the middle term, we had to dig boreholes around all informal settlements and disadvantaged areas so that Wananchi could get free water to cater for their needs, drinking water, and for other uses, household uses. Initially, in our 100 days in office, we dug 93 boreholes around the county. But as we dug and distributed this free water, the demand increased double. Mm-hmm. So after the 100 days, we went back to negotiate with national government if they could give us money to do 100 more. Mm. And I'm glad to report that West December, the second lot of 100 have already been completed. There are few still to be connected to electricity, but they are completely dug with 100,000 liter tank, stainless steel on top, with an efficient pump and a water kiosk. These water kiosks are usually manned by youths of those specific areas to ensure that we cut out cartels who go to sell water in these areas. So the youth control the distribution of water within their areas. And since they know all inhabitants within their areas, we believe with the current administrations of chiefs in the areas, this is an efficient way of supplying water to all informal settlements and disadvantaged areas without it going for other uses.
General, one of the other issues that was under your purview was health, or is health. And you're also looking at the construction of several hospitals around the NMS. And I believe what we heard last week was that a few of those will be completed in the coming days, weeks, and then they'll be ready to be commissioned for use. How has this been going so far, with the clear pressure that there is, or the heavy burden of sound, proper health facilities within the metropolitan area?
As I said before, just like the water need within informal settlement, NMS was formed during or when COVID had started. So when we went around to inspect most of the informal settlement, there were non-existing public hospitals. We started off with Mukuru. There are 5 Mukurus, and the bigger ones being Mukuru kwa Njenga, Mukuru kwa Ruben, and Mukuru Viwandani. Then it's cut off by that road of the airport. Then there is Mukuru Fatanyayo and Mukuru pipeline. All these Mukurus house almost 500,000 people. If you walk through Mukuru fast, those areas have never had roads, water, or sewerage connected to them since independence. So that was the biggest hassle that we faced.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Mukuru, the other big slums like Ibera, Madare, usually had advantage of NGOs or international NGOs coming to their aid. Mukuru, nothing was done. Although there were plans to upgrade it just like the other slums, but nothing had happened on ground. So first and foremost, we had to ensure that there was access to that slum, supply of water too. So when we went inspecting around, we found one hostel that is run by a Catholic church, a Denmark Catholic church, that had a bed capacity of 8 beds for maternity. You can imagine 500,000 people relying on an 8-bed hostel. This was a disaster. That's when we wrote a report and came back to national government, requesting them to immediately address this health problem. We were authorized because after inspecting all the slums, there were non-existing public hostels.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been authorized. The county has started building 5 of them in different areas,
Yep.
but left them halfway. So we have taken upon ourselves to contact those contractors, and most of them abandoned their work because of non-payment. Mm-hmm. So we have engaged them, and they are willing, or they have agreed to continue working as we promised to pay them past their balance for whatever is left to be done, and then pursue the county to ensure that whatever is due for them is paid. Then we had to build other hostels, totaling 24, that means 19 new ones, and continue with the 5, totaling 24. We immediately had a contract set, and we are going to build all the hostels and equip them for almost 900 million. So we are operating under a squeezed budget, but we are now seeing the fruits with the effect of by the end of this month, that is end of this week, we'll be opening or commissioning 2 hostels per week continuously until we finish all of them commissioning. And they will be operational. The ones that we are opening 2 hostels per week, they will be fully equipped and manned by medical staff. So I think this will address the current shortages of public hospitals. 2, it will decongest Kenyatta Hospital, Mama Lucy, and Bagavi, because these are other government hospitals, where people rush for even minor illness. So to decongest, so these hospitals become referred hospitals. Like Kenyatta will now be a referral and teaching hospital. So with these hospitals coming round, we do believe that most of what is required basically within every sector will be addressed. To cater for that, we are upgrading also Mama Lucy to level 5, and we have already issued tenders for the upgrade. We are starting soon building extensions of Mama Lucy. Then we have taken control of a hostel that was in Korokocho, or what we call Madare North. This hostel was intended during President Moi's days to be a level 5 hostel. Unfortunately, it was started almost 2 decades ago and abandoned halfway because of payment. When President Kibaki came in, he pumped in almost 400 million to ensure that it was completed. Unfortunately, it did not happen.
Wow.
We were tasked to ensure that that hostel is complete and operational this year. We have taken up on the task, contacted those contractors, where some of the contractors have disappeared. We have issued tenders for new ones. We are now working on it. It should be ready in February, complete, a 5-story building, complete with its mortuary and all other facilities of level 5, including ICUs and etc. So we will be able to commission this hospital hopefully by April, because the equipment that is required to man the whole hospital is huge. So we have requested the government to start the budget of equipping that hospital, and we are negotiating with National Treasury to ensure that we are able to complete that hospital this financial year. We are very hopeful. Once the infrastructure is completed next month, we'll now embark on employing doctors and nurses and other health officials to cater for that hospital to be operational, hopefully by end of April, if we receive the money to buy the equipment.
General, we actually wish we had a 2-hour session with you, because the number of questions that we want to ask and the questions that are being posted for us are so many. But there's one which has been asked by more than one person. Bodas, CBD.
Yes, we are trying to control bodas just like other PSV vehicles, matatus, and so forth. So yes, they'll not be allowed within CBD. We are already engaging all the organizations of boda to ensure compliance. So far, all indications are if we build the matatu or PSV terminal to the standards that they are expecting, all of them are willing to terminate their services at these specific PSV terminals. Remember, these will be modern PSV terminals, which will have drop-off points, specific drop-off points for different circles, different routes, specific pickup points. There'll be resting area, there'll be restaurants, hospital, police station, and a fuel station within these bus terminals to cater for all their needs. There'll also be a resting place for long-distance matatus should the drivers need to take a nap.
So people are also talking about, as we talk about the bodas, there's the behavior of the PSVs in general. So there's the matatus and the behavior or misbehavior of matatus on the roads, and now the emerging misbehavior of boda operators on the roads. Does the NMS have any mandate in controlling and ensuring that they adhere to the rule of law and that they operate as they should? Bodas.
As much as we want to control them, remember this will be a multi-agency operation. It's not only us, but it will include NTSA and the National Police Service Traffic to ensure that all rules are complied with. One, it will require retraining or training of all the boda crew to ensure that they are safe, reliable, and law-abiding. It's not an easy task, but we have already specific NGOs who are ready to sponsor their training. So we are working in conjunction with the police and NTSA and the boda circles to ensure that they get this training free of charge. Those that do not have helmets are sponsored to have helmets so that they become law-abiding.
Major General Mohammed Badi Abdalla, the Director General of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, thank you very much for speaking to us. You've done quite a bit in a short time that you've been in office, like you've explained. People have seen your work, and here what we like to do is to applaud when applaud is needed. You know, and that's what we're doing there. Asante
Thank you
sana.
very much.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much.
As we come to the end of the show, General, we always have the day's proverb, and it's given by C.T. Muga. Just listen to the proverb and let's hear what it means today.
The opportunity given to a monkey to wear clothes does not guarantee it joining the dining table.
That is true, Boga. But you can make it behave.
You can make it the monkey behave, right?
Ishiki adabu.
You can always tell my monkey to eat properly.
Right.
If it accepts to dress properly, then you
It
can
can
also
eat
go to
You
the
can eat
next place.
properly.
But what's the application of this city? I mean, why this?
I think the general has gotten the general gist of it. General, what do you think is the gist of this?
I think you're talking about disorder that has been in the county. Remember that if it is bribing, it starts with common manage. If it is a law breaking by PSVs, bodas, it's done by the common manage. The best we can do is train them, talk to them, and engage them. Remember, they belong to society which we come from. And if properly managed, we have already started engaging most of the matatu circles and boda. And we believe through road safety training and other training, we'll be able to contain this menace. There are so many problems that have been encountered by the county, but I do believe by engaging the society and all the stakeholders involved in a multi-agency approach or the whole of government approach, we will be able to bring sanity back.
Jemedari, asante sana for speaking to us. Those are the last political questions. We're not going to ask them today, but maybe in future, might you consider answering a political question like, would you run? Watu wako wakikuambia.
It is time.
It is time.
Ama labda unaweza kusikia mwito.
At the moment, no, because I'm still uniform.
Right.
So if I mention, I'll be charged tomorrow. until I get off uniform, then I'll be
Then
able
you can
to
consider.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Have a lovely day,
Thank you
General.
very- You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.